Hello and thank you for joining me today for this session. Today we will be discussing the importance of arms control and global arms control agreements. I hope that by the end of this presentation, you will have a clearer understanding of why arms control is essential to international security, and the steps being taken to achieve it. So, without further ado, let's dive into the topic of arms control. Export controls are government-regulated practices that aim to restrict the export of certain goods, technologies, and information to specific countries, organizations, or individuals. The purpose of export control is to protect national security, prevent the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and promote foreign policy objectives. The regulations vary by country and can apply to a wide range of items, such as military equipment, dual-use technologies, or sensitive information. Compliance with export control laws is necessary for companies and individuals engaged in international trade to avoid legal penalties and reputational damage. Governments can restrict the export of specific items by using arms control regulations to comply with international agreements, foreign policy, defense, and security goals. Both the national government and international organizations and treaties implement these regulations. International bodies are institutions created by several countries to promote international cooperation. Existing international agreements, organizations, and conventions include the following: the Chemical Weapons Convention, the Missile Technology Control Regime, the Nuclear Suppliers Group, and the Wassenaar Arrangement. The purpose of controls is to provide a way for users to interact with a system. The regulations are based on legislation and are part of the government's non-proliferation and weapons control commitments. The regulatory framework ensures that UK science and technology are not utilized for hazardous objectives by other nations or non-state organizations, terrorists, on purpose or unintentionally. The main aim of controls includes: protect UK national and allied security interests, support non-proliferation, maintain regional stability, prevent internal repression, human rights, support foreign policy, comply with international treaties and protocols. Purpose includes: the United Kingdom publishes a single document that consolidates the internationally agreed upon lists of sensitive goods. Other items linked to special UK defence, security, or foreign policy considerations and are included on the consolidated list of strategic military and dual-use products that require export authorization. There are two categories in the list: military goods and dual-use goods. Military goods refer to any products, equipment, or its components used by military personnel for their operations and missions. These can include weapons, ammunition, vehicles, uniforms, protective gear, communication devices, and various other types of specialized equipment. Military goods are typically designed and manufactured to meet specific military requirements and standards, and may be contained within the UK Military List, UKML. This list includes a wide range of goods that are designed or adapted for military use. Examples of military goods include weapons, ammunition, explosives, and military vehicles. The UKML is regularly updated to ensure that it covers all items that could be used for military purposes. It should be noted that not all military goods are controlled by the military list. This is an example of a military list entry. As you see, the general group is described followed by detailed specifics about the items contained within the group. Dual-use goods and technology are those that can be implemented for both civilian and military purposes. Items that are widely available and frequently purchased off the shelf, however, exhibit enhanced capabilities that can be utilized in chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, or conventional weapons. These items tend to be subject to export controls and regulations in order to keep them from being used in ways that could jeopardize national security or violate international laws. The dual-use list is a compilation of goods categorized into 10 different categories, each with its own set of subcategories. The categories include nuclear materials, materials processing, electronics, computers, telecommunications, sensors and lasers, navigation and avionics, marine, aerospace and propulsion. The list is used by governments to control the export and import of these items to prevent them from being used for military purposes. Here we see an example entry for the dual-use list. Like the military list, the general system description is first followed by the technical specifications of the controlled items within the group. The UK government maintains a list of controlled items, which includes those with a parliamentary legislation prefix. These items are typically restricted by the United Kingdom to specific territories, meaning they cannot be exported to other countries without the proper authorization. This is an example of a parliamentary legislation control. As you can see, it specifies both equipment and destination controls. End-user export controls are regulations that limit the export of specific goods and technologies to certain end users or destinations. These measures are in place to ensure that sensitive and strategic items aren't handed over to individuals or organizations who may use them for unlawful purposes such as terrorism or weapon proliferation. Compliance with these regulations is critical for organizations involved in international trade. Regulations vary by country and industry, and they are not exposed in a list, but the government has the authority to demand an export license for things that are not on the consolidated control list. These are commonly known as catch-all or end-use or restrictions. The most important question to any exporter is, do I need a license? The answer is, you will need the license if your goods, software, or technology is intended for military use or purposes related to weapons of mass destruction, WMD. You are aware of government concerns. You have been informed of the need for an export license after getting advice from ECJU. Your goods have been seized at customs. You can assess your goods, software, and technology against the UK strategic export control lists to determine whether or not they are controlled. The OGEL and goods checker tools can be used to help determine if the items are controlled. Identify the appropriate control entry. You can apply for a license currently through SPIRE, the online export licensing system. SPIRE is managed by the Export Control Joint Unit, ECJU. Licenses approved by multi-department boards such as Ministry of Defence, the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, and other government departments, as necessary. The use of license is policed by HMRC, and breaches are prosecuted through Crown Prosecution Service. In conclusion, export controls play a vital role in protecting national security and preventing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. By regulating the export of sensitive technologies and goods, countries can prevent them from falling into the wrong hands and being used for malicious purposes. However, export controls can also have unintended consequences, such as limiting legitimate trade and hindering economic growth. It is therefore important for governments to strike a balance between security concerns and economic interests, and to constantly review and update their export control policies, to ensure they remain effective and relevant in a rapidly changing global environment. Hope our session was helpful and provided you with a general idea about export control process. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or require assistance with your export control process. We are happy to help in any way we can.